You're listening to Grown and Growing with Sonia Hamlin. Welcome to the podcast, Carolyn. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? So
I'm
happy to
good.
be here.
I'm happy to have you here. I loved your story. I don't know. I know we talked about this before, but I think I got introduced to you because you were on my Discovery page, and I think I
Okay.
started watching your Wellness Wednesdays, and
Yes,
that's how I connected with you on social media. And I'm happy to have you on my podcast. So happy you said yes.
absolutely.
You own a successful med spa, which we'll get into because you're a licensed esthetician, and we'll
Yes.
get to what all that means. But I want to start our conversation off talking a little bit about your background.
Okay.
Because when I was reading your website to see if to learn more about you and to prepare to ask you to come on the podcast, I really loved your origin story. So I want you to start off by telling me how you got to be in this field and kind of what led you to owning your own successful med spa.
Awesome. So originally, I come from a background of finance, and I did that for so long, but I didn't feel connected, and I just felt like I was working. And so I started praying and asking God, like, because I would hear people say, you have to walk and work in your passion, because if you work in your passion, it won't feel like work.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, well, I started praying and asking God to reveal to me what I was passionate about, because I didn't know. I just knew how to work and what I was good at. And so I didn't even really know what that was. And so basically, I was getting my nails done one day, and this lady randomly, stranger, asked me, she goes, "Oh, are you an esthetician?" And so my nail tech was looking at me all crazy, and I was like, "No." I was like, "What's that?" And she's like, the people who does the facials and the skin. She's like, "You look like you could be an esthetician." And initially I was like, okay, that was strange. And my nail tech was like, "Did you know her?" I was like, "Never met this lady." And but she planted a seed, because I wasn't, after that, I was not able to not have that in my head. And so, of course, the initial, you know, oh, well, I can't because I work a full time job. I'm a single parent of my daughter. As too demanding of a job, like I would never be able to see myself doing that. And every time I would talk myself down, a door would open up for whatever that issue was for me to go to school.
Mhm.
So that I now know that I feel like that was an angel that planted that seed, because I was literally asking God to show me exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I was very, very detailed in my prayers. And and so I managed to go to school full time, work full time, still parent my daughter. It was a lot, but 16 years later, I am doing what I love, and it's just been, now I know that it's exactly what I'm supposed to do, because it doesn't feel
Mhm.
like work,
Yeah.
and so, but it takes a lot of prayer, patience, and faith to trust those voices, because you know when you're not in the right space.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh my God, you have such a successful career. Like, why would you want to do that?" Like, people really don't make a lot of money, especially African American estheticians. They don't make a lot of money.
Wow.
And I was like, that's not what I that may be true for some people, but I just knew it was going to be different for me, and it
Yeah.
has been. So I'm super grateful for that.
I love that story because there are so many women. I mean, the reason I started this podcast and I try to go back to it often is to remind women that we can always evolve and change. Even if you've been on a path for many years, even if you have 7 degrees in that area, you can always make a change and do something else and pivot. What I also
Mm-hmm.
like about your story is that you did pray and you were very specific. not in what the passion would be, but that it would be revealed to you. And
Yes.
so that's great. But on the flip side of that, what I also found interesting is that you were listening for it. You were open to it because
Yes.
somebody coming up and saying you look like an esthetician, whatever that looks like, because I'm like, what does that look like? Is not, that's something that you could have easily brushed off and said, okay, God, I'm still waiting for you to drop it specifically in my lap in a nice bow so that, it's very clear that this is what you want me to do. And that was very subtle. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not often that I won't say often. Sometimes I miss the subtleties from God and you picked up on it. So,
Well, you know why I think that happens sometimes, Sonia, is because in our mind we kind of already know what we want. So there's some surrendering in that, right? Like
yeah.
whatever it is, let me just show me. But I think that people sometimes already have in the back of their mind what it is that they're wanting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're seeking, and that's what they look for unconsciously. They're looking for what it is, and they say, your will and not his. But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was burnt out. I was working 70 plus hours a week. You know, I was still, having to parent a
Right.
middle schooler. And I was like, this cannot be what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, God, I know that there's something else that you have for me. And it was a surrendering that I had to do.
Mm.
Um, and I
What
think
does
that
that
was
look
for,
like? What does surrendering look? What did it look like for you?
whew, um, not really focusing on what I felt like I see as popular,
Mm-hmm.
not culture, not what's around me, you know, and being open to if it's hard, I'm still going to pursue it because if that means he's going to make a provision for me, which
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely a hard, this is definitely a hard, I won't say
Yeah.
hard, I would say challenging path because you have to defeat the odds.
Mm-hmm.
Us women of color, we are always going to have to prove ourselves, always, and unfortunately. Um, so, but surrendering to me was just continuing to do it, even though you know I would still work 70 hours and have to go to school at night when I want to hang out with my friends, or just being obedient to
Mm-hmm.
what I asked for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's for me is what that looked
Thank you for sharing that because it's an
like.
amazing story. It inspired
Thank
me,
you.
and I know it
Ah,
will inspire somebody else listening. So I want to get into. Well, I have one last question about that.
yes.
What is your biggest lesson when you look back on your path, 16 years being an entrepreneur, working in this space? What is your greatest like takeaway right now? What is your greatest lesson that you've learned?
Hmm. Ooh, ooh, that's a good question. I honestly will say my greatest lesson has been, and I'm still reminded of it, is trusting myself.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting myself and trusting what doesn't look normal that could be. You
Right.
know, those things that you aspire to have, God doesn't have a respective person. He can bless you. He can do the exact same thing that he's done time and time again. And I will say every bad business decision I made, I didn't trust myself. I second guessed
Mm,
myself. So trust your intuition. That has been which is, you're led by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. So,
mhm.
you know, every bad decision I questioned myself, and that due to, that at the time was due to lack of confidence
Right.
and just being told that you know this doesn't work for this and this won't happen for you, or just those things that
Right.
happen as a woman sometimes. It's like, well, so I think my biggest lesson in my career is just not trusting my gut, not
Hmm.
trusting my intuition, and And now that I am, it's like things are just falling into place
Right.
because I'm not influenced by anybody outside of me,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
What's a great place to be? I love that.
huh?
I said that's a great
It
place to
took,
be.
it took a long time. It took a long time. I'm happy to be here because, boy, you know, it's been
So,
hard.
so let's talk about your med spa because
Yes,
first of all, you're an esthetician, and I
yes.
think people know what that is, but just so we're clear, how do you describe what you do?
Well, I think there's levels to estheticians
Mhm.
because people consider most estheticians as just a facialist. You
Mhm.
know, oh, you just do facials, which very true. I've been doing it this long, and I still enjoy doing a good facial. It's very therapeutic for me, and I've been told I give really good facials. So it's just something that I just love to do is as in service to people, right?
Mhm.
But there's levels. There's estheticians that only do facials. There's estheticians that um they do waxing. So there's that license is such a it's so
Right.
broad. You can do a lot of different things
Mhm.
under the license. For me, I've always wanted to set myself apart and do more advanced modalities. And so I sought out a lot of training for that from people all over the country, New York, California, um, you know, just different doctors and surgeons and
Mhm.
people that I saw that I admired their work and wanted to learn from. And just being a sponge, like you're a forever student. So, but I think the business side happened. I really didn't set out to be a med spa owner. That was
Mhm.
never my goal. But when you're working as an esthetician and you're seeing all the things that's happening around you, that's kind of unfair. It's like
Right.
this is not like I see a lot of estheticians being taken advantage of, and I was just like, this is not going to fly for me. So I just kind of felt like I was just kind of like pushed into that because I wanted to create a new culture. I wanted to create a place where people are valued and we all share the same sentiments and
Mhm.
there's no competition. I
Right.
always say community over competition, and I'm going to drill that in so many people's heads over the next few years. That's my new thing this year. But
Mhm.
it's so broad. But I do I'm also a electrolysis, which allows me to do laser hair removal, all laser modalities, and you know microneedling. And I know a lot of states, everyone's different. So that's another thing, depending on the state. Because I know
Right.
California, they can't even do dermaplaning. That's really left up to the nurses and surgeons for those modalities. But Florida, you know, as long as you're licensed, you can, you
Do
know,
it.
do do what you need to do.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
that's the med part of the med spa because you can go
Mm-hmm.
get a facial, get skincare done, but then you can
Right.
also do laser hair removal. You can do
Lasers. Mm-hmm.
micro.
Skin rejuvenation, microneedling. You can do chemical peels, and you
Mhm.
definitely want to make sure that they are licensed and insured. I always say that because there's been stuff online where, and I even have clients that have
Mhm.
gone to places and have gotten chemical burns, and they're not even insured. So it's just really is worth doing your research. And
Yeah.
if you just want a relaxing facial, just get a relaxing facial. But if you want to see changes, you have to do more of the advanced
Okay.
protocols and treatments. Yes.
Oh, and I guess we'll get into that because a lot of that
Yes.
I don't even know what microneedling is. I don't know what derma
Cleaning.
planing is. So I think we'll get into that. I
Yeah.
wanted to center our conversation around skincare, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you are in your mid 40s, I think that's when I started to pay attention to my skin. To be honest,
Hmm.
I feel like I've been lucky in that way where
Hmm.
I haven't had a lot of skin problems. I've never had an acne problem. But when I got to
Blessings
40,
on
I know,
you.
when I got to 40, I was like, maybe I should start paying attention to my skin. I wasn't exactly having problems, but I just felt like I should start taking care of it. And so I got into skincare. But
Okay.
if you back it up, like when you're entering your 40s, you are probably already perimenopausal. If not, you'll be there soon.
Hmm.
So what type of hormonal changes happen in your body that affect your skin? That people can be seeing in their 40s.
Yes. So it's, and everyone's different because of genetics, but
Right.
this is probably about 80% of my clients. And even with myself, is that as soon as I hit 40, I noticed fine lines and not, the deep wrinkles, but just the tiny, tiny little lines. Some people get them in the forehead, some people get them around the eye area. Um, Sleep lines where they're like, oh, you can see what side, you can just tell visually like what side that you sleep on.
Oh my God. Don't look.
Yes, I won't look, I promise. I'm not gonna
Okay,
look.
don't look.
Um, and changes in your elasticity. So like just the bounce in your skin is just not as full as it was. And all of that is because we are having a decrease in estrogen. So when your estrogen decreases, the fine lines is because it's not as hydrated as it was before. And fine lines, and unfortunately some people probably around 45ish starts to notice hyperpigmentation,
Mhm.
and that is a huge indication that you need to get some hormonal change, or a blood panel to check your hormones, because there's a big shift in that. So, and that what you would normally notice that like around the mouth. Some people
Right.
have it like in the cheek area, and that's your body telling you that there's some hormonal imbalance.
Really? So, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I did not know what hyperpigmentation was until my sister
Okay.
told me like yesterday. I
That's
I
so
thought it
funny.
was when you had acne and it leaves scars. That's just she was like, no, that's just acne scars. But I was like, I don't know. But you're saying
Mm-hmm.
when you get because I feel like we've all seen like darkness around the mouth or on the neck area.
Mm-hmm.
Is that hyperpigmentation too? Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's more of a, what you were referring to is just like, it's called post-inflammatory pigment hyperpigmentation. So that's like post an acne, right? So it's just a spot. But this is more of like a mask, kind of
Hmm.
like, you know, or a large area that would be considered hyperpigmentation.
And because that's hormonal, that's not something that you can treat with creams or procedures, is it? Or do you have to treat it
Absolutely.
internally?
I always recommend both, because
Okay.
anything is, because if you don't, it's just going to come back and it's a waste of money. So what I tell my clients that, I kind of start noticing it prior to, or if they come in with it, I'm like, hey, have you had your blood panel done? Where are you at with your hormones? Oh no, I haven't. Like, what should I do? So yeah, I'm like a huge resource,
Mhm.
because it's like, yes, I can fix it, you know, externally, but like internally, like if you have some deficiencies, and a lot of it, unfortunately, is vitamin D deficiency.
Okay.
A lot of women in their 40s and 50s, they start to see the effects of having a deficiency in vitamin C. And it always shows up some type of way in the skin. So, and then once they do that, they'll come back and say, oh my God, Carolyn, you were right. They put me on this, they did this. Then we can start treating, you know, their
Hmm.
skin. And there's a lot of different modalities that you can do to, clear it up to where you're not having to wear makeup every day unless you want to.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when you have I just want to quickly touch on this, but
Mm-hmm.
when you suggest women have a panel, because you told me this during our when we were having a conversation before, that
Yes.
it's better because I know you can, most women are seeing a gynecologist, an OBGYN, or, very few people have primary care doctors that are either family medicine, internal medicine. You
Hmm.
suggested to me that you should get a panel done by internal medicine doctor.
Right. And correct. And the reason why is because, um, unless you know what to tell your primary care or your OB to test for, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to test for it. They'll probably come back and say, "Oh no, your hormones are fine," and
Mhm.
it's because they're testing you from like for like 3 things as opposed to like 15 things. So you know those type of panels aren't cheap, but your insurance, most insurance does cover a huge amount of it.
Mhm.
To me, you can't put a price tag on health,
Right.
and especially in your 40s and 50s, because people are cranky. They don't know why they're cranky. Some people start breaking out just randomly, like never broke out in their entire life. And as soon as they hit 41, 42, it's such a huge decline in your hormones.
Mhm.
So, for me, it's like if you want like the full picture, you definitely want to get someone who is invested, because that's what they do.
Right.
They dig a little bit deeper, and they can really say, on top of your hormones being off, your cortisol levels are, they're not good, and you're vitamin D deficient, or it just really gives you a huge full scope of what's going on.
Right.
And I started at 38.
Okay.
I
Wow.
started I started at 38, and just because of what I know,
Hmm.
I started at 38, and I feel like I've been able to um, maintain any perimenopause symptoms because I'm I'm like I'm in the maintenance phase. Like,
Hmm.
it's like, as opposed to just waiting for it to happen to you.
Yeah.
You can start pre-treating so that you know you're not just into the fold.
Right.
It's a gradual process.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm a lot happier. Happy hormones mean happy life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that, when you're going through perimenopause, you don't really, nobody really talks about it. I mean, I hear a lot more about it now, but nobody really talks about what you will be experiencing. You kind of don't know until you're in it, and until you get like a night sweat or a hot flash. Those are the more common ones, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
really notice the attitude changes, or the depression, I don't even know, dry skin, whatever it is that you're going through, that you don't even
Right.
think that it's related to your hormones. So,
No, no
when
one, no one connects the dots because, we're now in our 40s, and my mom didn't know anything about perimenopause.
correct.
Her mom didn't know anything, so it's like, how would they know?
Hmm.
So it's funny. I'll just start talking to my clients, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm going through the same thing, and I just been dealing with it. I don't know who to talk to." That's another thing. It's like, where do you go? Who do you talk
Yeah,
to?
absolutely. I'm trying
Because
to
to
look for,
me, like, why isn't OBGYN, doctors, and not all, because I know some really great ones, but I feel like they should be educating their clients, especially when
yeah,
they're about to hit 40. Like, that's a huge, so, and that's honestly, like, that is one of the conversations that sparked me to start Wellness Wednesdays, because it's like, if nobody's gonna talk about it, I'm gonna talk about it. Like, I know you guys are here for skin, but like this is value that needs to be in the community. Like,
yeah.
people need to know. Yeah.
And I recently interviewed a OBGYN specifically about this. And I asked her, I'm like, why don't more GYNs talk about it? And she even said herself that the research is conflicting. There's a lot of research on it. So it's really up to the doctor to decide, how invested they want to get into talking about this. And and it's up to the doctors to study, what the latest research is, which to me is a little bit, I'm like, oh, I thought, everybody would be on the same page or on the same accord or sharing the same research, but it's not like that. So,
No, No.
So when it comes to how this affects your skin, right, your
Yes.
hormones, what
Yes.
should a skincare routine look like for a woman in her 40s?
So I call them my three non-negotiables.
Okay.
And the first one is vitamin C. And not just any vitamin C, because I'll have clients come in and says, "Oh yeah, I get a vitamin C from Sephora," and I'm like, "No, that's not the vitamin C I'm talking about. An L-sorbic vitamin C, because you want to be able to brighten the skin. You want to be able to have a fight against free radicals, which is that's the sun, pollution,
Mhm.
and it's a really good antioxidant. So that is like if you live anywhere where there's sun, you need a vitamin C. So
Okay.
that's
And
everywhere,
then
right?
L-sorbic vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. So there's different ones. So and then a retinol. And a lot of people are just so like, oh, I tried it once. My derm put me on it. It tore my skin apart. I'll never do it again. I get that, right? I get that a lot. So my skincare line that I've created for my clients is a serum based retinol because it's a better delivery. You don't need a lot, and you can literally like gradually work yourself into it. So most creams will disturb your epidermis, your top layer of skin, and
Hmm.
that's caused the irritation, the flaking, because it's a cream. So it's literally sitting on that top layer. But with
Right.
the serum, it's actually penetrating, you're working it into the skin. So the delivery is better. So you have less irritation, flaking. But it's important because that's what's going to keep your skin texture like better. It's going to keep it vibrant, tight. It's going to help with post inflammatory pigmentation.
Hmm.
It's so many, it's like anti-aging in a bottle. So if you're over
Okay.
40, you have to, and if you have one, I call it the sandwich. If it's hard for you to tolerate it, you know do your retinol and then do a moisturizer, to kind of like keep a barrier. So
Hmm.
but you have to at some point like get yourself introduced to it, especially your skin, because by 50, now at 50 you're reversing the signs of aging, and you want to get ahead of it. And then the
Oh,
last one would be an SPF 50. And I
five
literally,
zero,
yes,
50.
50. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's a fight in my treatment room like every day. Oh, it's in my makeup. I'm like, do you know how much is in your makeup? Oh, I think it's like 10 or 15. I said, you know that equates to minutes? And they look at me like, OMG. Oh, really? I said the number equates to a time
It
that
does?
you're, yes,
I didn't know
yes.
that. Okay.
Especially if you're in direct sun.
Okay. I don't know what I thought it meant. I thought it just meant the strength of it. It's stronger. But I mean, I didn't know it was time. Okay.
You
And
see,
do
you're
you,
blessed with beautiful skin, so you don't even know.
not 50 yet. I need to start. Oh
Yes,
God. Okay. So I want to go quickly back to retinols because I had,
yes.
first of all, never even heard of a retinol, just discovered it this year. Didn't know what it was. I mean, I heard it because I hear commercials. Like I think of oil of Olay. Like I hear retinol, in commercials, but I never, honestly, I thought it was for white women. I did. I didn't know any black women that used a retinol. But,
I hear that a lot.
now that there now that there's Instagram and Sephora, I do know
Right.
about it. And I did make the mistake of using a very strong retinol, which like
Mm-hmm.
burned the crap out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it made my face dry and tight and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was like using 1%, which sounds very like 1%. That's very little.
Especially a cream,
Yeah.
that's high for a cream.
Sure did return it. I
Yes.
returned it. I
Yes.
was like, this is too high. And I stepped it down to like 0.25 or something like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't even know black women use retinol because I just
Mm-hmm.
thought that's for white women because black don't crack, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, that's what they marketed. They market those commercials aren't marketed for us, or in the back in the day, it was not marketed to us. So my mom's never used a retinol until I'm like, you start using retinol. She's like, okay, whatever you say. But like, she just did her creams, and that was all she needed to do.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, and with the sunscreen, so I mean, I have been for the last few years, I've been diligent about sunscreen, but it's been a journey. It's been a journey
Hmm.
with sunscreens because
Hmm.
there's so many different kinds.
Hmm.
The one that I used to use just used to leave my face so oily. And now I'm trying another one that doesn't leave my face oily, but then sometimes I wonder because it's not white, because I know the best, or at least I heard the best sunscreens need to have zinc in it or something, or I may be
Yes.
spreading a rumor. Okay.
Nope. Nope.
Zinc in
That's
it,
right.
which leaves your skin white, but also leaves that cast on your face if you're
Hmm.
black. So,
So yeah, it's yeah. And the thing about it is, that's the number one reason why most women of color are like, I'm not putting that on my face. Like, no way. So I have two. I just launched one today. I have two SPFs on my line that's sheer.
okay,
So they don't have
cool.
an excuse. No excuse.
No, no, I have a sheer one. I'm going to check yours out. I have a sheer
Yeah.
one, but I swear every time I put it on, I'm like, is this even working? It's like it goes on and it's very sheer. I like it because it doesn't leave me oily. But I
Hmm.
do wonder if it's working. But if you have one, it must be.
Yes. Yes.
So with when you're thinking about your your skincare routine in your 40s, you need to introduce L-sorbic, vitamin C,
Yes.
um, a retinol, and
Yes.
SPF.
50.
Into you sandwich those in between your your cleanser and your moisturizer somehow.
Correct. Correct. So
Okay.
it would be cleanser. You do your cleanser, your vitamin C, your retinol, and then um that would be night. So retinol is only for PM. So
Okay.
you wouldn't use your retinol during the day. And if you're new to retinol, I would only start out with 2 nights a week. And like maybe like Monday, Friday, not
Hmm.
like a Monday, Tuesday. Give yourself some time in between
Right.
so that the cell turnover and so you'll have less irritation. So that's something I always tell my clients is just split it up, have on 2 set days every week. And then once you start to notice, wow, like my skin looks really good, minimizing your pore size, it's
Right.
looking really good, it's smooth. Then, a couple months down the line, if you want to add an extra night, you can definitely add an extra night in the middle.
Okay. A couple of months. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to give yourself some time.
Okay. And then when you're in your 50s, what would you add or change from that routine if you're
I would
50?
prioritize hydration. And a lot of people go to what they see like in the stores.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of creams, they just sit on top of the epidermis because they're not FDA approved to go to your live layer of skin. And that's where you want your product to go. That's
Right.
where changes are going to be made. So a ceramide cream is perfect. It's like a lipid cream that basically, just think of a sponge. If you only
Mhm.
putting a little bit of water on top of the sponge, it's not going to reach all the way down. So
Right.
with a ceramide or a lipid cream, it's going to make sure, and you want professional grade, not something from Walgreens or
Okay.
Target or anything like that. You want it to be able to reach your live layer of skin. So that sponge, once it's hydrated, it has bounce. It's healthy. It's good
Okay.
tissue. So that's, prioritizing hydration between 45 and 50 is extremely important,
And
especially in black skin.
with hydration, does that also mean water too? Like, do do you drink more
Absolutely.
water? Oh, okay. Okay. So you
Yes,
can,
absolutely. You know, um, they always say you're supposed to drink half of your weight in water,
uh-huh.
and that's hard. That's
That's
hard.
a lot of water
So that is a
for
lot of
me.
water. So I am realistic. So I tell my clients if you can just commit to 40 ounces a day,
Hmm.
and I drink, these are the little fake,
Oh
these little,
yeah.
yeah, 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 the little fake.
I'm with you.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
40 ounces too. So this is
Yeah.
what
So just one a day.
Really? Okay, because I always beat myself up because I only, I drink one or maybe one and a half, and I'm like, oh, I need to drink three of these. I don't get
Yeah.
to it, but
Yeah. So I try to do two. This I'm on my second. I'm almost done with that. So I've
okay.
done two already, and it's so that just really helps a lot of things. That's going to help your organs, your skin, your digestive system. You
Hmm.
want to, and because on top of your face, like we still have, our whole body. We still have our regular skin, like
Right.
the skin on our arms and our legs. That starts to get really dry too because
Yeah.
of the lack of hormones, the lack of estrogen.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So unfair. Um,
I
so we
know.
talk, I don't know if I'm having a hot flash right now or not, but I'm like, I want to talk, you talked a little bit about products. I
Yes.
feel like I don't know what it is, and it's the marketing, but I feel like the products you need a chemistry degree. I do not understand what a lot of them mean, what they do. Like I use a liquid exfoliator, BHA. Have no idea what that means. Have no idea what it I think I know what it does, but I just incorporated it because I was like, oh, somebody said this works, which is a terrible,
Right.
I feel embarrassed to do that. But I do think it works for
It's
my
good.
skin. I like it. But I have,
Yeah.
what is it and why is it that companies are finding that putting the technical, I mean, I think I appreciate it, I guess, if you want to Google, but I think it makes it hard to really find what works for you because it's
Mm-hmm.
so technical. It's the chemical name of it, which
Right.
I guess
Yeah.
is a
AHA,
double-edged sword.
BHA is just an exfoliator. It's a
Okay.
form of exfoliator, but um, like beta hydroxy,
Mm-hmm.
alpha hydroxy is basically what that means, which for someone that's not in the skin, if I didn't know, if I was not doing skin, I would not know. That would mean nothing to me, right? So honestly, I would consult with a licensed professional. And the reason
Okay.
why is not because I'm one, because if I wasn't one, I would go seek help myself,
Yeah.
but because there's so much gimmicky, trendy stuff
Yeah.
out there that's really messing up people's skin barriers, causing more harm than good. And, you want to use something that's FDA approved. You don't want to jump on the TikTok bandwagon and start using what you see works for someone else. Like, one of the misconceptions that it just drives me so crazy is the black soap that I see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ethnic brands sell.
Right.
Well, I think it's okay for the body, but when I say it strips the skin
Yeah.
like horribly, and I've repaired so many skin barriers from using that product. But you would think, oh, I'm black, that's black soap. Duh. You think,
It's
like
natural. It's like
correct.
shea
It's
butter or something. Like,
correct. No, it literally just it's too harsh. It's too harsh
mm-hmm.
for the skin. So I would, if you don't have an esthetician that you would go to regularly, just schedule a consultation.
Yeah.
Most consultations are free, or to me, it's worth the money. I'd rather spend money to make sure that I'm investing because skincare products are not cheap,
No.
and you want to make sure that you're getting something that's specific for you because you know just because it worked for this person does not mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah. And I found, I mean, a lot of what I have is through trial and error. And I think what
Mm-hmm.
I tend to go back to is what's simplest. Um,
Right.
you recommended seeing an esthetician. What should you look for in an esthetician? Because I know, like when I posted this, there were a few people who were like, "I'm looking for. Is she local? Is she local? Is she local?" I wanted, even though they were in different states, I'm like, she's not local to none of us, none of us here.
That's so
Um,
funny.
but what should you look for when you're looking for an esthetician? Like, I mean, obviously license, but what else would you add to that list?
I would look at their work. I would
Oh,
look at their work, their
mm-hmm.
reviews, basically their reputation. and how long they've been licensed, how long they've been in the business,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, it's it's a lot of estheticians being pumped out every quarter, especially here in Florida. There's a lot of schools, and you know, since COVID, they've now gone hybrid, and I just think that's the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life, and I'm probably going to get some hate mail from that. But you know, I did a very long, drawn out program, and I was hands on every day.
Right.
I don't know how you're learning skin through Zoom. I
Virtually.
just
Yeah.
I can't. Like, so research, research, research. And I do have a lot of out of town clients that not for a, you know, that comes in, but I recommend products and they share photos with me. We do virtual consultations
Hmm.
and they're super happy with their skin. And so Maryland, DC, New York, New Jersey, Canada, like all over.
Yeah.
So I help a lot of women and I'm just so gracious to be able to do that. And which is why I was like, during COVID, I came up with the product line because I'm
Right.
like, people can't get to me. We need to come up with, I need to do something. So, and I have been working on it, but it gave me the push to just do it.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna test you. I'm gonna do it virtually. Because I
Yay.
would like I would like to see what you say about my skin, and I'm gonna take
Yes.
you up on that. And you can go to her
Okay.
website to do it.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a section on her website where you can get a virtual consultation. Um, so this is about, your skincare routine. It's important. Obviously, it's important that we have one. I should you have a nighttime routine and a daytime routine? And
Absolutely.
okay. Is it like when you go to the dentist, they're like, you should brush your teeth twice a day. You should brush your teeth twice a day. But if you don't, I would prefer you brush your teeth at night. That's what the doctors say, even though most people brush their teeth in the morning. But
Mm.
whatever. If you had, so you feel like you must do morning and night, or if you had to choose one, would you say that morning is better, or they're both equally important?
I I would say in your 40s and 50s, you got to do it twice a day. Like this is the year. These are the years that we have to amp up our routine. Because
Okay.
yeah, you could have gotten away with it in your teens and 20s. Even I was, if I wasn't in skin when in my 30s, I would have maybe done it once, right?
Right.
And been fine. But I think after 40, with the hormonal changes and the decline with no, like your body's producing no collagen.
Hmm.
So you're literally losing an opportunity to age in reverse. That's how I look at it.
Right.
And I also don't recommend, five, six products during the day and 4 or 5 products at night either. I simplify it. You don't need all of that. And I think a lot of new lines, I mean, there's some people, I mean, they're doing 10, 12 products.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't understand. Like,
And
why?
then we'll put makeup on top. Like what?
Correct. Like,
Much. Yeah.
no. So I feel like less is more,
Hmm.
but you definitely need to be doing an AM and PM routine after 40. It's non-negotiable.
Okay.
Unless you want to be ashy. I
No,
don't.
not ashy. Nope,
That's what
I will be doing both. I will be doing both
okay.
for real this time.
But
All
we
right.
going we gonna condense it to where you don't need a bunch of products.
Okay.
Literally, I do my routine so quick. It's so easy.
That's what I
It
need.
does
I
because
need
like
easy.
people think I have like 100 products lined up. I'm like, no,
Okay.
maybe three and three. It's so easy. Boom,
We
boom, boom.
shall see.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about slowing down the process of aging, and obviously you could do that through procedures and processes and products. But
Hmm.
what else can we do? What are we not thinking about when we think about aging, and slowing down aging? What else can we do that people don't generally think about or they kind of disregard?
So I was so happy you asked me this question because when I did my Wellness Wednesday about skincare in your 40s, I was going to add it, but I mean, it was just way too long. And I'm like, people have a very short attention span. So I'm like, I'll just leave it out. And then when I saw you were gonna ask me that question, I'm like, yay. Because it's so
Yeah.
important. And I don't think people really are thinking about it. But screen time, like we're more and more people are in front of a laptop,
Right.
phone for hours and hours of time a day, and they're not reapplying SPF, and it's blue light. It's very similar to sunlight.
I didn't even get that. I didn't even think about that. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I don't, if I'm like, well, I'm not going outside, I'm not putting on SPF. So you
Mm-hmm.
should, so that affects your skin. I don't even think about that.
Mm-hmm. It's very similar. Blue light is very similar to UV, so it's aging you.
Dang.
Especially if you're sitting like my clients like, oh, I work from home, and I'm like, well, do you not have any natural light? Oh yeah, I keep my windows open. Okay, are you not on a computer? Oh yeah, yeah, I'm on a computer for 10 hours a day, and you have no protection. And so
Wow.
it's just like light bulb, a complete
Hmm.
light bulb goes off because it's like, oh wow, I wouldn't have ever thought of that.
Yeah.
So blue light, screen time, and then I'm laughing because I'm like, you guys been on a laptop for 8, 10 hours, and then you on TikTok for 3 hours in the bed.
Jeez. I thought you were gonna
Scroll up.
say, I don't know what I didn't know what you were gonna say, but I did not connect that you needed SPF, like you needed to protect your skin. So with that, do you have to reapply? And then if you wear makeup, how do you reapply? Like it doesn't seem practical to reapply SPF all day.
So it depends on the SPF. So
Okay.
that's why like I had to create my own because I had not found one that I could easily reapply if I had on foundation.
Okay.
So the one that I have, you absolutely can reapply it. It just literally melts right into the skin, and I love it. And but there's others that a few of my clients say, "Oh yeah, I can." I have one that I can reapply. I think Skin Better Science, they have one that's kind of like you can pat it on into the skin.
I had no idea.
There's a few that I'm aware of that you know has you can reapply it.
Hmm.
And you know I don't spend a lot. I don't, as much as I'm busy with my business, I don't
Hmm.
have a lot of screen time because I'm busy working
Right.
in the business.
Right.
So but like if I know that I'm going to be out, or if you know I have a busy day doing video calls, I will reapply. I will
Okay.
absolutely, kind of in the middle of my day, I will reapply. And I don't think people really correlate screen time as, it's aging us just like the sun.
No, never heard. I've never heard
Especially,
that in my life
yes.
until
So when I
now.
saw that question, I'm like, yay!
Is there anything
I
else
get
you
to
would
talk
add?
about this.
You would
I
add to
would
that?
add, yes, I would also add just being careful with intense fragrances, like, different candles, perfumes, lotions, detergents, because, you know, those very harsh, and I know everyone loves the what is it? The Bath and Body Works
Oh, the
candle.
candles. Yeah.
Some of them are just the really, really intense ones I would stay away from.
Right.
And the reason why is because they have the fumes that come off the candles.
Hmm.
They have mimicking estrogen particles that come out into, so that you're inhaling that. So if you're
Wow.
someone who's trying to balance your hormones, and you know, and that's how a lot of people unfortunately end up with cancer. It's it's free radicals. It's environment. It's not that it was in their bloodline or in their generation. They're first. It's a lot of first
Right.
generation people, and these heavy, intense uh, fragrances is high up there on some of the causes.
And I
And
just
what
want
I
to be clear. When you say intense, meaning they're very fragrant. They
correct,
smell very like you can
really
just sit it
strong,
out. Wow. And I
correct.
feel like that's what people look for. Something that's strong that you can, smell when it's not even burning. But
Listen, I was such a I love the strong, like you could smell it throughout the whole house until I started really doing my research. And then noticing clients in their early 30s coming down with cancer, first generation,
Mhm.
and just really looking at the case studies, and like they're gym buffs, they eat clean, they're vegans.
Yeah.
There's no reason why medically that these people should. It's something that we're doing on a daily basis,
Yeah. And
even
it,
with, and even with like the other thing I was going to say is, you know, for the life of me, people still drink tap water. I don't understand that, but tap water and then like plastic bottles,
yeah.
they're filled with little microplastics. So you're ingesting that,
Mhm.
and my husband, he teases me. He's like, "Oh, you're bougie because you drink your water out of it's either filtered or like a glass or like a glass bottle." And I'm just like, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
we. And so, anyway, those things I think people really don't consider because
Hmm.
we don't think about it, and that is why I feel there's a lot of products, because even with skincare, that's
Yeah.
another thing. A lot of our favorite stuff you see at Sephora and Ulta and Walmart, they're full of parabens. Parabens have been linked to cancer. So, clean products is just so important to me. It's important to, you know, what I do on a daily basis, and I love to educate. And I'm like, you don't have to buy my line. I'm just find something that's clean and that's gonna work.
Right.
That's
And that's the
that's
importance of having, I mean, a esthetician like you and really trying to
right,
do the research because
right.
I mean, what I've learned from you just now is just in this conversation is that yes, you can do skin and yes, you are here to, but you're also about your whole health and making
Correct.
sure that your skin is great from the inside out, which I can really,
Absolutely.
really appreciate because I mean, some of the stuff I've never even heard of. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how much you like scroll on Instagram,
Right. Right.
I've never really heard of it. So, and to get back to the cancer thing, yeah, I work in healthcare, and I do know that there is a rise in people who are getting cancer under 40, men and women,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're seeing an increase, and they don't really know what it's attributed to. And I'm like, this world, our food, the fact that like you brought in the plastics. I'm like, yeah, because look at what industrial, food and industrialized
Mm-hmm.
everything and quick, quick, fast, everything. Like, look what it's gotten us. And so now you see some of the results of that because so many younger people are coming up, men with prostate cancer, colon
Mm-hmm.
cancer. I'm writing an article about HPV. Um, and the rise in that. So it's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just something to another, thing to be mindful of. So
Absolutely. And I think that unfortunately, it's just not a lot. There's not a lot of resource for people to get educated on it. So they
yeah,
just they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So for me, it's like, okay, if I'm reading case studies and I'm researching and I'm seeing clients that I know that super healthy, vegan, workout, I mean, excellent shape, first generation, and everyone just accepts that, oh well, it's in my bloodline, like, oh, my mom or this
right.
person had cancer. Oh, I'll probably end up getting. And it's like, no, like majority of those cases, there's no history of cancer.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the things that we're doing on a daily basis that we're not even thinking of that's
Well,
affecting
I
us.
want people to follow you because there's more where this came from. We can't cover it all in
Right.
this podcast. So tell people where they can find you, where I found you on Instagram
Yes.
and Facebook or wherever you are on social.
Yes. So my website is carolynskincare.com, and Instagram is just super easy. It's Carolyn Skincare. That's Carolyn. And so my med spa is Carolyn Skincare Med Spa. So that's like if you want to see like before and after skin. My product line can be found on my website as well, carolynskincare.com. I I had it separate for a while, but I just condensed it all because it just made life so much
Easier.
easier. And you can do virtual consultations. I do a lot of product recommendations. I do a lot of those a week. And like I said, people from all over. And and they've been on my line since I've had it, been over 3 years. And so it's good. It's good.
Amazing. Yes. And I will link
Yes.
all of those things in the show notes so that you can find it easily. But Carolyn, thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed and
Thank you
learned
for
a
having
lot.
me.
Yes.
Yay. That's the goal. And I mean, outside of what I do for skin, I'm actually about to launch a new course for other professionals in skin and business professionals, how to sustain a successful business, as well as like educate them on things that they wouldn't necessarily get out of school. So that's my next baby. So I'm excited
Oh my
about
gosh.
that.
We need more of you. Yes. Go multiply. Go, go out and multiply. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And for everybody else, I will see you next time.